This is chapter 1 of my novel Comfort. Chapter 1. These are the names. I remember a lot about the time I spent in Comfort. I surely remember getting there, and I surely remember leaving. I remember the faces of the people and the look of the town. I'm sure I remember most of the names. I remember how the streets went and where the sun rose every morning. I can see the golden orb taking its swath through the sky, shining like a flashlight, spotting out all those who stride on the bottom under the spacious ocean, and particularly that little Nebraskan town. Just a little grandeur. This is my story, the story of the son of a great man. I'm an old man now. Dad is gone, so is Mom. Sister and I still see each other. She comes to New York where I live, and we go to Mass together every spring. I only make it out now when I'm with my sister. Nearly 30 years of that, I guess. I'm married, met a great woman in the 70s. I had just gotten on my feet again. I worked after the war and had a little money, but my wife just thought I was cute or something. I think she stuck with me because I can make her laugh. She's successful, saved everything. We don't talk about it, but we lived on my dime when John was growing up, but we'll really live when she retires. I saved a little money over the years, what I could. We didn't use any of her money until John started college. John is our son, our only child. Mom and Dad just had sister and me. Mary, my sister, is 4 years younger than me, 1949 and 1953. I remember the end of the 50s, or pretty much after 1956, I guess. The 60s went fast, and then I rode the tail end in Vietnam, and then I guess the first part of the 70s there too. It was kind of like being born again. Well, I met my wife in 1974. I didn't ever ask out another woman in my life. There were times I wanted to, but I always thought I never had the courage, or it wasn't right somehow. Our first real date, I went to her parents' house. She was about to graduate college that spring, and we first met at a bar while I was watching a baseball game. My wife was a school teacher for a few years, then eventually a professor, now a dean. I liked when she was just a teacher and I was a mechanic with Dad. Engineer in the Army and all. I drove a truck most of the time. Her father was a professor for 50-odd years. I guess I worked about 7 different jobs over the years. My wife always was climbing higher and higher while I was swinging from one job to the next. I told her how Dad switched jobs, how he could do anything. She met him too. We had John in 1981. We weren't married until 1980, until I kind of proved to her father that I was a decent man. Dad was alive for the first 8 years of John's life. Dad didn't look old when he died. The glimmer had not left his eyes. Well, Mom passed a few years ago. She talked about comfort in her last days. I never really brought it up to Dad for a long time after we left. Once he said something like, "You could sure see the stars back in Comfort." Sister talks a little about it. I mentioned it to my wife and son. I just talk about Mr. Olsky, mostly. But they know about Mary and her mother and most of the town. They get bored to tears hearing about it, but truly it's all I would talk about if I had the chance. A lot happened in my life, but I think I learned how I would respond to most everything from growing up in Comfort. There was enough good there that I could walk through the bad times I encountered later in life. I think my father thought it was good there too. He was good friends with Mr. Olsky. We were all good friends. The whole town was good friends when it was small. Well, we moved there after Detroit. I was actually born in New York, but we were only there until I was 2. Mary, my sister, was born in Detroit. I remember her being born, or the time when it was happening. That's probably the first thing I remember. We were all still young in Comfort, little children. I guess I probably didn't care much about anything before I got there, like problems in the world. But I remember in Detroit, Dad used to say, "We're all strung up and swinging at each other." He also said that in his latter days. I guess I took that as people don't want other people to succeed. I didn't know why, but I guess some people feel like if other people don't fail, then they won't succeed. My mom told me that I was not supposed to take from other people. She told me not to steal. That's all I remember learning first. I had to share everything with my sister. Well, I thought for a long time that life is just what we see in front of us, a new reality, new trees, new birds, and a new patch of sky. Wherever I was outside, I thought I was just seeing a rearranged living room, and it's perceived as an untouched garden. It got put there at some point in time, but I believe some things are still pure. Again, I speak in grandeur, but I never thought I'd write my story of what I learned in Comfort. It was so different. The people were all white, but I didn't really think about it until we moved again. We lived in the black neighborhood in Detroit. Some of my teachers were white, but most of the people I knew were black. I did not know my people had waxed exceedingly mighty in a couple hundred years. Well, I always thought I had a strange name too. I asked Mom about it when I was very young, and Mom just said, "Dad named you Moses."